I've been using video cameras for around 3 decades now, and I use them professionally for over 20 years, but there was always one thing that stuck in my mind. I'd never used a motion film camera. Back when I was involved in the indie filmmaking scene, using a motion film camera was reserved for top flight professionals who didn't have to pay for the film stock or the processing out of their own pockets, film students at certain universities, and dirtbag filmmakers who didn't mind going without food if it meant getting their film made. I was none of those. Once digital began to rule all, a lot of the film gear suddenly became available in the bargain basement bin, for a short while at least. You see, film has made a bit of a comeback, and many content creators are now discovering the joys of capturing light on a physical film strip. After some recent personal events, I decided it was time for me to investigate whether it was feasible for me to finally give film a go. I was pleasantly surprised to find that not only was it possible, but that it was nowhere near as expensive to do as I first thought, particularly if I went down the Super 8 route. But you might be asking, why would I want to do it? After all, isn't Super 8 film low resolution, highly grainy, soft and full of jerky motion? What's the appeal of that? Well, it turns out that a lot of our connotations about Super 8 are false. Most of our impressions of the format tend to come from poor VHS or DVD transfers done by backstreet wedding footage transfer companies using low quality telecine systems. The reality is that modern high-quality scanning systems used by dedicated film processing and transfer specialists have meant that Super 8 can now be shown at a quality not previously possible. In fact, so good are some of the current scans that in some instances the footage could be mistaken for the much higher resolution 16mm format. A lot depends on the camera and how the footage was taken, but Super 8 is capable of far more definition and quality than most casual observers would give it credit for. I have to admit, I have become a bit jaded with some modern technology to a degree. Don't get me wrong, I still love new technology and the capabilities that were now offered, but I've been looking for something else to offset it all, to bring me back some of what made me interested in using cameras in the first place. Modern tech has made me lazy, and there isn't the same buzz of looking forward to seeing what I've shot anymore. With a modern camera you can take as many shots as you want without penalty, and then you can view them back instantly. Mess up that camera setting? Okay, no problem, it can be corrected and you can try again. With a film camera, once you press that filming trigger, that's effectively your money being used up in real time. You have to be sure that you want the shot. You have to be sure that you want that composition. If you're performing a pan or a tilt, you can't afford to mess it up or to give it another go because you missed the end point. A film camera forces you to really think about what you're doing and about how each shot fits into an edit structure, and it makes you focus on your core operating skills. There's no room for error. Now, I know that the convention is for Super 8 to be used at 18 frames a second, and the camera would be waved all over the place like a flag with lots of trombone zooming, but I wanted to use a camera at 24 frames a second and to make my shots more considered. After all, you don't move your Sony A7 or Panasonic GH6 all over the place with trombone zooming just because that's what your dad did when making VHS home movies in the 90s. In other words, a film camera, even a Super 8 camera, is a tool, and it can be used in an amateur way or a professional one. It's just an image capture device, and it's up to you how it's used and nobody else. Some people are after the spontaneity of Super 8 and want to film trips with family and friends with the requisite shaky camera work and zooms all over, but from my own personal perspective, I was looking for the considered, thoughtful approach that using film would give me, along with the colour and contrast and the character qualities that it brings to the table. After seeing what some filmmakers were obtaining with format and the costs involved, I was hooked on the idea. Now, it's perfectly feasible to jump straight into 16mm film, but although the film stock and development costs aren't all that different to Super 8, 16mm cameras, even wind-up ones from the 1950s like the Bolex H16 Rec series, can still cost over $2,000 for one that's certified to work properly. 16mm is still on my radar, but I decided to begin with Super 8. So what are the costs of doing it? Well, It's possible to obtain a decent working Super 8 camera from between £100 to £200. If you want, you can really push the boat out and spend several grand on one, such as the Pro Classic from Pro 8mm in the US, but I decided to pick up a fully working Bolex 480 macro zoom for just over £200. Now, I did previously buy a Yashica and it turned out not to work properly, highlighting some of the pitfalls of purchasing a Super 8 camera, but I'll be going into these in the next installment in the series. You can purchase a 50-foot film cartridge of Kodak Vision 3 stock for around £45 if you shop around, and you can also get it processed and scanned for a similar price if you go to a company such as Gauge Film. Scans can be performed at resolutions up to 4K, with some very specialised companies offering even higher resolution. Now, I know what you're thinking, what's the point of a 4K scan of Super 8 film, since there's no way it produces 4K worth of detail? The answer to this isn't straightforward, nor is it what you think it is, and it's a topic I'll be returning to. The point is that modern technology is able to extract far more quality out of the format than ever before in the past, and that's making Super 8 a very feasible creative tool in a modern world. On a personal level, it makes me excited to use a camera again. I didn't realise until I'd used a Super 8 camera and received my first footage back as a digital file how much of a connection I felt to it. It was a genuinely exciting moment, and there's something about the idea that what you've shot has been captured onto a physical medium that somehow makes it feel more valuable. If shooting digitally is like going to McDonald's and shooting film is like eating out at a Michelin star restaurant, you appreciate every nuance. With film, its imperfections are what makes it perfect, and modern cameras seem dull and clinical in comparison. Shooting with film isn't something you'll do every day, but when you do, you'll know it's because you really want to. You'll know that it's something you really want to capture because it's not worth the time, expense or effort otherwise. Since I've been using Super 8, I've been noticing ideas for compositions and the way light looks and behaves much more acutely than before. It's giving me back what I've been missing for a long time. Next time, I'll be looking at buying a Super 8 camera, what to look for, and importantly, what not to do when looking to buy one. Until then, if you like this content, please like and subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification icon to be notified of new content, and I'll catch you in the next video.